Comfort, comfort ye my people, speak ye peace, thus saith our God. Comfort those who sit in darkness, mourning neath their sorrow's load. Speak ye to Jerusalem of the peace that waits for them. Tell her that her sins I cover, and her warfare now is over. There is no rose outside her tomb, as is a rose that en Jesu. For in this rose untaken was and everything little says. That owes me earnestly that He is God in persons three. So leave we all this worldly earth, and follow we this joyful birth. Shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flocks by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you glad tidings. I bring you glad tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men.
And it came to pass, as the angels were gone away from them into heaven, the shepherds said one to another,
Let us now go even unto Bethlehem, and see this thing which is come to pass.
Last week, a very full service, loaded with energy, upbeat, giving, getting ready to get together with family. This week, presto, beautiful Christmas or Advent decorations, the Advent wreath, a seasonal testimony. But something may seem a little out of order. The radio stations, etc., all know that the Christmas season has been here for a while, and the music has started, and the theme, the advertising is all in place, but the church of all places seems to be behind schedule. Some people often expect to hear Christmas carols right away. Beloved celebratory songs like, "O Come All Ye Faithful," "Joy to the World." And sometimes I'm asked to explain why we sing some of these dirgy Advent hymns instead. So I thought it would be good to start by looking again at the words of the one we just sang. Let all mortal flesh keep silence. That's different. And with fear and trembling stand. That's not typical for Christmas carols, is it? Ponder nothing earthly minded. But when we go to the mall, that's all that it's about. Ponder nothing earthly minded. For with blessing in his hand, Christ our God to earth descendeth. Our full homage to demand. It's like when Jesus first recruited Simon and Andrew, James and John, he was on a recruiting mission, to put it kind of crassly. And this is what the Advent hymn is telling us. He's come to demand our full homage. It's all about the birth of Jesus, but it just doesn't sound so Christmassy as we might like. You're not going to hear the fear and trembling piece in the out there Christmas, the malls and the radio stations. They have rushed to the happy finish line without beginning at the beginning. Jesus was disruptive back then, and nothing has changed. And so the church is doing its job by reminding us that the Advent season is one of deep introspection, of waiting, of patience, meditation. And the mall music tries to tempt us to just forget that. The verse continues, dealing with our full homage to demand. Now, the fear and trembling makes a little bit more sense now. This hymn isn't about the cute little baby in the crib. There's a place for that, but not here, not now. It instead points to the adult Jesus. This Jesus, whom we praise and worship, comes with clear demands. He isn't coming just for a celebration of his birthday and a party. He doesn't just say, fall on your knees before me. Instead, he says, follow me. What a difference. Follow me. Surrender to the God who has sent me. That's what ought to make us tremble. In the out there Christmas, there's a complete absence of giving one's full homage to anything. Changing one's life is not required. What is offered doesn't last very long and doesn't go deep enough to create any lasting change. And that's the opposite of what Jesus was about. Isn't it ironic? Here we are celebrating his birthday, and yet we have this huge dichotomy between the celebration and his essence, his mission. So that's where we come in as a church. As the little girl one time said, the church tells us about the really Christmas, the really Christmas, the really Jesus. Perhaps it will help if we get in touch with the sense of fear and trembling that was present during the narratives as we have them of the birth of Jesus. Was it found in the shepherds? Well, no, they were terrified out of their minds when the light came on at night and the angels sang to them, but they got over it. And eventually, they went to visit the child and worship him. Was it Mary and Joseph? No, they were concerned, but they don't display any sense of fear and trembling. What about the wise men? Well, no, not there either. Who was the one who was filled with fear and trembling? Herod, of all people. the pathologically insecure ruler, he knew what homage meant. And if Jesus would gain in power and would be the object or the conduit for that homage, he feared that the only thing that could happen to him would be that he would lose. And that wasn't an option. And so he resorts to the unthinkable, the murder of innocent children in order to wipe out this rival. Herod is like a nightmare in the midst of a beautiful and inspiring story. And so he never appears in pageants or Christmas carols, never, and for good reason. And yet he's the one of all people who seems to perhaps have the best understanding of the future impact of this child. But he responds in all the wrong ways. But he's in the story for a reason, I believe. Herod's solution is an abomination, but his anxiety in seeing the potential implications of a relationship with Jesus as an adult, that anxiety is universal. Jesus challenged the rich and powerful of his day, saying, "You may have the keys to this kingdom, access to comforts, to status, security, but I come with keys to a different kingdom indeed. And if you're trapped in your kingdom, you'll never understand it. You'll never see it. It's the real kingdom." And they were so invested in this earthly kingdom that they couldn't make room for his. Who wants to lose face? Who wants to jeopardize security by giving our full homage to this man and the uncomfortable and inconvenient things he said and demanded? And so the eternal struggle between light and darkness continues, just as it had been a part of their lives then. Advent, with its hymns, scriptures, and prayers, points to the light while at the same time probing the darkness. With Jesus, before we can savor the good news, we have to face the bad news. And he's with us there too. We don't always believe that. "Oh God, if you knew me as I know me, you wouldn't love me." Well, believe it or not, God already knows. And God has said, "I am with you." The prophet Isaiah was born hundreds of years before Jesus. They never met. But in his conversion experience, as read this morning, he compresses the Advent experience into just a few moments. The power of the Lord, a vision of power, towers above him. The Lord's voice booms forth, and the whole temple shakes in his dream. Isaiah responds in what way? How do I overpower this? Or how do I take over? How do I become better or stronger? No, he feels humbled. He fears for his life. It's as if his old life was burned away and he was given a brand new one instead. A dangerous and adventurous but fulfilling life of sacred service. He's the image of the Advent journey for us. He never sang a Christmas carol. He never lit a candle singing Silent Night, but he knew what it was to give his full homage to God. And that's when his life really began. He and Herod couldn't have been more different, but they both understood what full homage meant. And so during this Advent season, ask yourself where Jesus makes you nervous. If you can't come up with anything, there's plenty of reading material to prime your pump. Ponder some of his pithy statements. If you lose your life, especially for my sake, you'll find it. The first shall be last, and the last first. Take up your cross and follow me. Where do you find yourself clinging to that which isn't worthy of you or isn't worthy of God? We all do. That's Herod, embedded within us. And that's where Christmas most needs to be born in us. There. In those places where we tremble inside. But if we insist on the celebration without the beginning, the fear and trembling part just won't fit in. It can't. It isn't welcome. It's inconvenient. It ruins everything. So let the shepherd in you, the humble and earthly self, be filled with wonder and awe. Let the wise one in you, the part that seeks truth no matter how far you have to go, reflect deeply and kneel reverently. Let the Mary in you, the nurturing parent, be struck anew by the humbling and troubling words of the angel about the sword that will pierce your heart, which is the price of love. And last but not least, remember that Herod is a part of this story for a reason. We are not strangers to this fear, but we must never forget that it is only the love of God that can make us free, and that's worth preparing for. Amen.